As a first-time player of Final Fantasy Tactics through the new remake Ivalice Chronicles, minus some dabbling on mobile and emulation, here are 5 things I just didn't expect in Final Fantasy Tactics. Combat is snappy. Many Tactics games can have maps that take 30 or 40 minutes or more to complete, which depending on the quality of the combat can be a real drag and bring a game down. Final Fantasy Tactics focuses on a more almost squad-based type of tactics, with your max deployable units capped at 5. The amount of enemies also is typically between 5 to 10 as well, which when combined with the relatively small map sizes leads to quick, impactful battles that don't overstay their welcome. The modern updates to the UI also help speed up gameplay, creating a loop where you never have to spend too much time on any one battlefield. The speediness of the combat is great because the next thing on this list is just how much grinding you have to do. Final Fantasy Tactics certainly is a product of its time, and with Ivalice Chronicles being very true to the original, grinding is necessary to progress past certain points in the game. Now, the amount of time you spend is up to you, as just an hour or so may be all you need to complete the next story mission, but if you want to unlock more of the game's classes, or jobs as they are called, you will have to spend much more time grinding. Thankfully, because battles are snappy and there are some ways to maximize grinding, like using the passive abilities to boost job and general XP, this grinding isn't as painful as it can be in other games. So, if you're new to the game, just be aware that there will be grinding and there really isn't any way around it. Up next is just how great the story delivery is. In the remake, full voice acting was added, and the voice acting really raises the story to a new level, allowing you to actually hear and feel the emotions and motivations of the game's characters. While the story's plot itself, I would say, is dated and overused at this point in the Tactics RPG genre, the voice acting makes it worth listening to and following, whether you've been through it in the original or are experiencing it for the first time in the remake.
You need me?
This one was disappointing for me. So, Final Fantasy Tactics offers a wide variety of jobs or classes that each character can spend time in, and you can freely swap these around whenever you like, so long as the character has met the prerequisite level in a previous job. Each job's main mechanic and abilities can then be assigned as secondary abilities for other jobs. So, a knight can have white magics as secondary, for instance, and be a sort of paladin. So with so many job combinations to try, you'd think there'd be a lot of powerful builds to create. However, a lot of these combinations just don't synergize well, and you end up just going with a meta build by endgame. Now, for role-playing reasons, yes, you can do a lot of interesting combos. So if that's your goal, you should be fine with the build options. However, if you like to optimize, there really aren't a lot of options. So just for an example, you could make a really cool battle mage, a knight class who spent some time as a black mage and can also cast magics as a ranged option. However, doing this will have your character gain levels as a mage, which will do basically nothing for the character's melee damage or health stats, as when a character levels up, they gain more base stats based on whatever job they're in at the time. So when you change your mage back to a knight, he can cast spells, but is much squishier and weaker than if he had leveled up in another melee class like monk or ninja, or even just stayed a knight. So you end up with a knight that is more vulnerable to both physical and magical attacks. Because the knight is casting spells, he's gonna need High Faith, which is a two-edged sword because High Faith also makes him more vulnerable to magic, even though it makes his magic stronger. So you're much better off in the long run just tanking a melee character's faith so that magic barely touches them, and building up their attack, speed, and health stats instead. So while there is a lot of variety in possible builds, the long-term viability of many of those possibilities is questionable. Now, some may disagree, but my own experience in 2 playthroughs just left me wanting more ways to play the game that don't turn suboptimal by the midpoint. Finally, the last surprising thing I found was just how awesome the map design was throughout the game. While each map is small, there is so much packed into them with multiple changes in elevation, variety of biomes, and obstacles to block line of sight. Each map brings a unique challenge that really makes you consider things like your unit's move and jump stats, and even makes items like shoes that make your character float or fly viable and helpful items. No two maps in the game look alike, which helps keep things fresh even when grinding, as you can just move to another map if you get bored of grinding at Mandalia Plains for the 80th time. Final Fantasy Tactics has some of the best map design I've seen in a tactics RPG. So there are my 5 surprising or interesting things I discovered playing through Final Fantasy Tactics for the first time. What 5 things did you find most interesting about the game? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like and consider subscribing for more Tactics RPG content. Thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and keep on gaming.